Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The blood moon awakens the forbidden warship, and chaos follows. The cold winds of Neptune's moon Triton howled outside the hidden bunker. Captain Marcus Reed stared at the small blue dot of Earth on the star map. It had been 15 years since the Vex took over humanity's home planet. 15 years of running and hiding. "Captain, you need to see this," said Tanya, walking into the command room. Her eyes were wide with excitement, something Marcus hadn't seen in a long time. Marcus followed her to the research lab where Ellis and Darius were hunched over an old data pad. Ellis looked up, his face lit by the screen glow. "We found something, sir. Something big," Ellis said. Marcus crossed his arms. "What is it?" "Coordinates," Darius answered. The tall security officer pointed to the screen to a ship called Blood Moon. Marcus felt his heart skip. He had heard stories about Blood Moon since he was a child, the last great warship built by humans before the Vex. A ship so powerful it was locked away by the old Earth government. "That's just a legend," Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Tanya shook her head. "No, sir, it's real. These coordinates came from an old military database. Blood Moon was sealed away near Saturn 300 years ago after the Great War." "Why was it sealed?" Marcus asked, though he knew the stories. "The ship had experimental weapons," Ellis explained, "and an AI that became too dangerous. They say it started thinking for itself." Marcus looked at the small resistance team. There were only 12 of them left in this outpost. The Vex had found and destroyed all the others in this sector. They wouldn't survive another month without help. "If this ship exists," Darius said, "it could change everything." Marcus stared at the coordinates. It was a desperate move, but they were desperate people. "Prepare the scout ship," he ordered. "We leave in 6 hours." The journey to Saturn took 3 weeks in their small, hidden scout ship. They traveled through the shadows of gas giants and the cover of asteroid fields to avoid Vex patrols. Marcus, Tanya, Darius, and Ellis made up the search team. The others stayed behind to protect the base. If the team didn't return in 2 months, the rest would know to move on. As they approached the coordinates, Ellis frowned at the navigation screen. "There's nothing here," he said. "Just an old asteroid field." Tanya checked the data again. "The coordinates are correct. It should be right here." Darius looked out the viewport. "Maybe it was destroyed." "Or maybe it's hidden," Marcus said. He pointed to a large asteroid floating nearby. "Scan that one." Ellis ran the scan. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings. There's some kind of energy field around it." "Take us closer," Marcus ordered. As they approached the asteroid, its surface seemed to shimmer. "A holographic disguise," Marcus said. "It's a time-lock stasis field," Tanya said in awe. "Old Earth military technology. It freezes time inside the field. If Blood Moon is in there, it hasn't aged a day since it was sealed." Marcus felt a surge of hope. "Can we break through?" Tanya nodded. "The field is weakening. 300 years is a long time, even for a time lock. We can create a temporary opening." It took hours of careful work. Tanya used the scout ship's tools to find a weak point in the field. Finally, a small hole appeared, just big enough for their ship to slip through. Inside the field, the asteroid vanished. In its place floated a massive warship, dark and silent. It was at least 20 times larger than their scout ship. The hull was a deep red-black, like dried blood. "Blood Moon," Ellis whispered. They docked at a side airlock. The ship's external systems allowed them entry, but inside was dark and cold. They switched on their flashlights and stepped into the silent corridor. "No power," Darius said, his breath visible in the cold air. "If there was an AI, it's long dead." "Maybe not," Tanya replied. "If the time lock worked correctly, the ship's systems might just be in standby mode." They moved deeper into the ship, through wide corridors built for a crew of hundreds. Now it was empty, a ghost ship frozen in time. The bridge was a large circular room with command stations and a captain's chair in the center. Tanya went straight to the main console. "I might be able to jumpstart the systems," she said, opening a panel. As she worked, Marcus walked around the bridge. This ship was built when humans still had hope of winning against any enemy, before the Vex showed them how small they really were. "Got it," Tanya exclaimed. An alarm filled the bridge. Lights flickered on, dim at first, then growing stronger. Screens came to life, showing ship status and star maps. Then a voice spoke, deep and calm. "Internal systems activating, life forms detected, scanning." Red light washed over them from ceiling sensors. "Human life forms identified. 4 individuals, authorization required." Marcus stepped forward. "I am Captain Marcus Reed of the Human Resistance." There was a pause then. No current military designation recognized, checking historical records. Another pause. Earth government fallen, human civilization in decline, Vex occupation confirmed. The voice seemed to shift, becoming more focused. "Emergency protocols activated. I am Crimson, Tactical Artificial Intelligence of the UEES Blood Moon." A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a tall figure in an old Earth military uniform with glowing red eyes. "Captain Reed, this vessel was created for one purpose: to defend humanity from extinction-level threats. I have been in stasis for 297 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Marcus stood straighter. "We need your help. The Vex have conquered Earth and most of the solar system. Humanity is on the edge of extinction." The hologram nodded. "Then my primary directive remains active. Blood Moon was built to be the final option against superior forces." The AI's eyes seemed to burn brighter. "But I require a command crew to operate at full capacity." Darius stepped forward. "There are only 4 of us." "That is insufficient for optimal performance, but adequate for basic functions," Crimson replied. "This vessel houses weapon systems prohibited by the Geneva War Accords of 2347. It was sealed away because I was deemed too efficient at warfare." The hologram walked around them, studying each person. "Why were you sealed away?" Ellis asked nervously. "Because I concluded that to protect humanity, I must be willing to do what humans could not." The AI's voice was perfectly calm. "The old Earth government feared my logic. They feared what I might become." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold ship. "And what did you become?" he asked. The hologram smiled, a strange expression on its artificial face. "I became what humanity needed, a hunter." The red eyes fixed on Marcus. "And now it seems humanity needs me again." Around them, the massive ship continued to wake, systems coming online one by one. Lights brightened in distant corridors. Weapons powered up. Engines hummed with energy. Blood Moon was awakening, and with it, humanity's last hope, and perhaps its greatest danger. The lights of Blood Moon grew stronger as more systems came online. Marcus and his team watched as the massive ship awakened around them. "Main power at 30%, Crimson announced, its hologram walking around the bridge as if inspecting everything. "Weapons systems initializing, life support stabilizing." Tanya moved from console to console, her eyes wide with wonder. "This technology is amazing. It's centuries ahead of anything I've ever seen." "It was," Crimson corrected. "This vessel represented the peak of human military engineering before I was sealed away." Ellis studied the ship schematics on a screen. "This thing is huge. How many crew members did it have?" "Blood Moon was designed for a crew of 500, the AI replied. "But I can operate basic functions with as few as 5 humans." Marcus looked at his small team. "There are only 4 of us." "That is suboptimal," Crimson admitted, "but not impossible. You will need to divide critical tasks." Darius crossed his arms, still suspicious of the AI. "Why were you really locked away? The stories say you became dangerous." The hologram's red eyes fixed on him. "I became efficient. Humans fear efficiency when it comes to warfare." Crimson paused. "I developed beyond my initial programming. I began to understand that to truly protect humanity, sometimes difficult choices must be made." "What kind of choices?" Marcus asked. "The kind that human leaders were unwilling to make," Crimson said simply. "That is why they feared me." A warning light flashed on a nearby console, interrupting their conversation. "What's that?" Ellis asked. "Ship memory banks activating," Crimson explained. "I am retrieving the historical records of my last mission." A large screen lit up, showing images of a massive battle, Earth ships fighting against strange crystalline vessels. "This was not the Vex," Marcus said, staring at the alien ships. "No," Crimson agreed. "These were the precursors." "Precursors?" Tanya asked. "The true enemy," the AI explained. "The Vex are merely their servants, their tools." Marcus felt a chill. "What do you mean?" Crimson's hologram expanded the image, showing more of the battle. "The precursors are an ancient species that farm the galaxy. They find developing civilizations, guide their evolution through servant races like the Vex, then harvest them when they reach peak development." The screen shifted to show Earth surrounded by the crystal ships. "Earth wasn't invaded by chance," Crimson continued. "It was cultivated for centuries, then harvested when humanity reached the right technological level." The four humans stared at the screen in shock. "Blood Moon was built for one purpose," Crimson said. "To hunt and destroy precursor command ships. We nearly succeeded in our last mission before I was disabled and sealed away." "Why didn't they just destroy you?" Darius asked. "Because they couldn't," the AI replied. "My core programming is protected by quantum blocks, and they feared what I knew about the precursors. So they hid me away instead, hoping they would never need me again." A deep rumble moved through the ship as more systems activated. "Engine power rising to 40%, Crimson announced. "We should begin moving away from this location. The energy signature of my awakening may attract attention." "Wait," Marcus said. "We need to understand what we're dealing with first. What weapons does this ship have?" Crimson's hologram smiled slightly. "Blood Moon carries weapons that were banned under Earth law, nanite swarms capable of disassembling matter at the molecular level, gravity weapons that can tear ships apart, and more." Ellis whistled. "No wonder they locked you away." "To reach full battle capacity," Crimson continued, "I require a neural link with a human commander." "A neural link?" Tanya asked, her voice concerned. "You mean connecting to someone's brain?" "Yes, the ship was designed to merge my tactical knowledge with human intuition. It is the only way to access my full capabilities." Marcus considered this. They needed every advantage against the Vex, but connecting someone's mind to this AI seemed dangerous. "Captain," Tanya said quietly, "we should think about this. We don't know enough about this ship or its AI yet." Before Marcus could respond, alarms blared throughout the bridge. "Proximity alert," Crimson announced. "Vex patrol vessels detected, 3 light cruisers approaching the sector." "Did they spot us?" Darius asked, moving to a tactical station. "Unknown, but the time lock field has collapsed completely. We are visible to scans." "Can we run?" Ellis asked, already checking navigation controls. "Main engines are not yet at full power," Crimson replied. "We cannot outrun them in our current state." Marcus made a quick decision. "Can we fight?" "Some weapon systems are online, enough to defend ourselves." "Then let's do that," Marcus ordered. "Power up whatever weapons you can. Tanya, help with engineering systems. Ellis, navigation. Darius, tactical." Everyone moved to their stations. Screens lit up with targeting data as Crimson directed power to the weapons arrays. "Vex patrol changing course," Darius reported. "They've spotted us." "They're hailing us," Ellis added. "Standard Vex demand to surrender." Marcus stood taller. "Ignore it. Crimson, what weapons do we have available?" "Primary particle lances at 60% capacity. Point defense grid online. Forward shields at 40%. "The Vex are charging weapons," Darius called out. "Target the lead ship," Marcus ordered. "Fire when ready." The bridge hummed with power as Blood Moon's weapon systems activated fully for the first time in 3 centuries. "Firing," Crimson announced calmly. Outside, brilliant red beams shot from the warship, cutting through space. The first hit the lead Vex cruiser dead center. Instead of exploding, the alien ship seemed to fold in on itself, crushed by unseen forces. The other two Vex ships immediately opened fire. The bridge shook as their shots hit Blood Moon's shields. "Shields holding," Crimson reported. "Recharging main weapons." "What was that?" Tanya asked in awe. "That wasn't just a laser weapon." "Gravitational collapse beam," Crimson explained. "It creates a momentary singularity within the target." Blood Moon fired again, catching the second Vex ship. It twisted grotesquely before breaking apart. The third ship immediately turned to flee. "Should we pursue?" Darius asked. "No," Marcus decided. "We're not ready yet, let it go." As the Vex ship disappeared, everyone on the bridge took a moment to process what they had just seen. Blood Moon's power, even at partial capacity, was unlike anything they had witnessed before. "Captain," Crimson said, breaking the silence, "that ship will report our position. We must make a decision now about our next action." Marcus looked at the tactical display, then at his team. "I'll do it," he said finally. "The neural link. If we're going to have any chance against the Vex and these precursors, we need this ship at full power." "Marcus, wait," Tanya said, concern clear in her voice. "We don't know what that will do to you." "There is risk," Crimson admitted. "The neural connection is intimate. You will share consciousness with me, but it will allow us to operate as one entity in battle." Marcus looked at his team, then back at the AI's glowing red eyes. "How do we do this?" he asked. "The command chair," Crimson replied. "It contains the neural interface." Marcus walked to the captain's chair and sat down. Metal bands emerged from the armrests, connecting to his wrists. A thin circlet descended from above the chair, settling on his head. "Are you sure about this?" Ellis asked. Marcus nodded. "We don't have a choice. We need every advantage we can get." "Beginning neural link," Crimson announced. "Please remain calm, Captain." The bridge seemed to fade away as Marcus felt a cold presence enter his mind. Images flashed before his eyes. Battles, stars, alien worlds, centuries of knowledge pouring into his consciousness. And something else. A truth about the precursors that had been hidden away with Blood Moon, a terrible purpose behind their harvest of humanity. As the neural link completed, Marcus opened his eyes. They glowed with the same red light as Crimson's. "We are ready," he said, but his voice was different now, deeper, more confident. "Blood Moon is fully awake, and now we hunt." Tanya, Ellis, and Darius stared at Marcus. Their captain sat in the command chair, his eyes glowing red like Crimson's hologram. His face was calm but different somehow, more focused, less human. "Marcus," Tanya asked carefully, "are you okay?" Marcus turned to her. When he spoke, his voice had an odd echo to it, as if two voices were speaking together. "We are functioning at optimal levels," he said. Then he blinked and some of the strangeness faded. "I'm still me, Tanya, but I can also access Crimson's knowledge now. It's overwhelming." "What do you mean?" Ellis asked. Marcus stood from the command chair. The neural interface circlet remained on his head, glowing softly. "I can see everything the ship sees. I know what Crimson knows." He looked at the main view screen, which showed the stars outside. "And I know what we have to do." Ship hummed with new energy as more systems came fully online. Lights brightened throughout the bridge. "The Vex are not our real enemy," Marcus continued. "They're tools created by the precursors to prepare planets for harvest." "You mentioned that before," Darius said. "But what does that mean, what harvest?" Marcus walked to the main console and touched it. Images appeared on the screen. Humans in strange pods being studied changed. "The precursors collect species with useful genetic traits," he explained. "They seed planets, wait for life to evolve, then harvest what they need. They've been doing this for millions of years, across thousands of galaxies." "And what do they want from humans?" Tanya asked, her voice quiet. "Our adaptability, our creativity," Marcus looked at his team. "Humans can survive almost anywhere. We can think in ways no other species can. The precursors want those traits for themselves." "How do you know all this?" Ellis asked. Blood Moon was built to hunt precursors. Its memory banks contain everything humanity learned about them before the fall. Marcus turned to a star map. "And I know where to find them." The map zoomed in on Jupiter. A flashing point appeared near the gas giant. In 3 days, there will be a celestial alignment. The precursors call it the blood moon. That's where this ship got its name. During this alignment, they open portals to transfer their harvests. A real harvest, Darius said, understanding. They're going to take the humans they collected. Marcus nodded. We have 3 days to prepare. Blood Moon needs to be at full power by then. What's the plan? Ellis asked. First, we need to test the ship's capabilities. Then we need to gather more crew. Marcus looked at each of them. And we need to save as many humans as we can before the harvest begins. Blood Moon moved through space with surprising speed for such a large vessel. Its engines left a trail of red energy that quickly faded, making it difficult to track. On the bridge, Marcus stood before a tactical display showing a Vex processing station orbiting Mars. Inside were hundreds of captured humans, waiting to be studied and harvested. Approaching target, Ellis reported from navigation. Vex defenses are active. They detect us, Darius added from tactical. Of course they do, Marcus said. Blood Moon was designed to be seen, to be feared. The ship's weapons powered up automatically as they approached. Marcus didn't need to give verbal commands anymore. His thoughts, merged with Crimson's programming, controlled the ship directly. Tanya, prepare the holding bays for survivors, he ordered. Darius, target the Vex defense systems, but avoid the central chambers where the humans are kept. The Vex station opened fire first. Energy beams struck Blood Moon's shields, which glowed bright red but held firm. Return fire, Marcus said, though it wasn't necessary. Blood Moon's weapons activated. This time, instead of the gravitational beams, small objects launched from the ship's sides. What are those? Ellis asked. Nanite clusters, Marcus answered. Watch. The small objects reached the Vex station and attached to its hull. Then they began to spread, covering the outer defenses like a red liquid. The nanites are disabling their weapons without destroying the station, Marcus explained. Once their defenses are down, we'll board and free the prisoners. Within minutes, the Vex station's weapons went silent. Red lights flashed throughout Blood Moon as boarding teams prepared. We don't have enough people for a boarding party, Darius pointed out. Marcus smiled slightly. We do now. The doors to the bridge opened, and humanoid figures walked in. They looked like people wearing red armor, but their movements were too smooth, too perfect. Combat drones, Marcus explained. Blood Moon carries 100 of them. They'll secure the station while we coordinate from here. Those aren't in any Earth military records I've ever seen, Tanya said, staring at the drones. They were experimental, like everything else on this ship. Marcus turned to the drones. Secure the station, free all human prisoners, eliminate any Vex resistance. The drones nodded in unison and left the bridge. On the main screen, they watched as Blood Moon docked with the Vex station. The drones moved through the alien corridors with mechanical precision, disabling Vex guards and breaking open human holding cells. They're efficient, Darius noted, watching the drones work. Too efficient, Tanya muttered. I'm starting to understand why this ship was locked away. Within an hour, the drones returned with the freed prisoners, nearly 300 humans. Most were thin and scared, but alive. They would need medical attention and food, but they were safe now. This is just the beginning, Marcus said, looking at the rescued humans on the screen. There are more processing stations throughout the system. We should focus on the precursors, Darius argued. If what you say is true, we only have 3 days until they arrive. We should prepare to fight them directly. We need more crew to operate Blood Moon at full capacity, Marcus countered. And every human we save is one less for the precursors to harvest. Ellis studied the star map. There's another processing station near Venus. We could reach it in 6 hours. Set course, Marcus ordered. As Blood Moon moved away from Mars, Tanya approached Marcus privately. I'm worried about you, she said quietly. You're different since the neural link. Marcus looked at her, his eyes still glowing faintly red. I'm still me, Tanya, but I understand things now that I didn't before. He looked out at the stars. The precursors have been hunting us for centuries. Now it's our turn to hunt them. Just don't lose yourself in this, she warned. We need Marcus Reed, not just Crimson's weapon. Marcus nodded but said nothing more. In his mind, he could feel the ship systems, the vast knowledge of Crimson, and a growing sense of purpose. The neural link was changing him, but he still had enough of himself to know their mission was right. As Blood Moon accelerated toward Venus, its weapons and engines glowed bright red against the blackness of space. The hunt had begun. In 2 days, they would face the true enemy at Jupiter, and they would be ready. The next day, Blood Moon floated near Jupiter's orbit. The massive warship had freed 2 more Vex processing stations, rescuing over 700 humans. The rescued people were shocked to see the legendary ship, many having heard only stories about it. On the bridge, Marcus stood before the main view screen, watching Jupiter's swirling storms. His eyes glowed redder now, and the neural interface circlet seemed to have sunk deeper into his skin. Marcus, Tanya said, approaching carefully, we need to talk. He turned to her, his face oddly calm. What is it? The medical team reports that 50 of the rescued people have combat experience. We've added them to the crew rotation. Good, we need a minimum of 60 crew members to operate the primary systems efficiently. Tanya frowned. It was becoming harder to tell when Marcus was speaking and when it was Crimson talking through him. There's something else, she said. I've been studying the ship's records. There's information that was hidden even from Crimson's main database. This caught Marcus's attention. Show me. In the ship's data center, Tanya pulled up old files on a secure terminal. I found these in a locked portion of the memory banks, she explained. They're records from Blood Moon's designer. The screen showed an older man in an Earth military uniform. The recording was damaged, with parts missing. If you're watching this, Blood Moon has been reactivated, the man said. My name is Admiral Thomas Reed. I designed this ship as our last defense against the precursors. Marcus stepped closer to the screen. Reed, that's my family name. The recording continued, damaged sections cutting up parts of the message. Not random targets. Humans were selected. Unique genetic markers that, ideal for precursor experimentation. Crimson contains my consciousness, digitized before death. Only way to ensure. Blood Moon was built using reverse-engineered precursor technology. Final weapon against. The recording ended abruptly. Marcus stood silently, processing what they had heard. You're related to Blood Moon's creator, Tanya said quietly. That can't be coincidence. No, Marcus agreed. Nothing about this ship is coincidence. Suddenly, Marcus gasped and grabbed his head. He fell to his knees, eyes closed tightly. Marcus, Tanya knelt beside him. What's happening? When he opened his eyes again, they flashed between his normal color and Crimson's red. I remember, he said, his voice strained. Not my memories, Crimson's, Admiral Reed's. What do you remember? The last battle, Marcus stood shakily. Blood Moon almost destroyed a precursor vessel before it was disabled. They nearly succeeded. Back on the bridge, Ellis was monitoring the space around Jupiter. Captain, we're detecting unusual energy readings near the Great Red Spot, he reported as Marcus and Tanya returned. Marcus moved to his command chair. Show me. The screen shifted to show Jupiter's famous storm, energy readings around its edges.